talking.
Thank you very much for that warm welcome. My name's Paul Bird from Business Internet Training. I'm going to be talking today about a personal challenge in my life. It was related around a health issue. But before I do that, I want to ask you a hypothetical question. I'm not going to embarrass you by asking you to shout out any answers, but the answer is really important to you. They'll all be different, and I just want you to think about this. If you went to the doctors tomorrow, they told you that you only had 6 months to live, what's the one thing you would really want to achieve? Would it be something crazy like hire a yacht, sail around the Caribbean, climb a mountain? Would it be you want to achieve a certain goal in your business? Maybe you just want to slow down, take some time out and spend a lot more time with the people that you love. Just think about what it is that you might do if you knew you only had 6 months to live. I should just clarify, during my illness, I was never told that, but there were times that I was feeling really vulnerable, and so it did make me think about the future. So my story began back in November 2011 when I woke up one morning with a headache. It wasn't a bad headache, it was just there. It didn't really bother me, got on with the rest of the day, but I did notice when I went to bed it was still there. That was unusual for me. I could count on one hand how many headaches I'd had prior to that. Very, very rare that I got a headache. And also those normally gone within an hour, 2 hours. This went on for 3 weeks, and after 3 weeks I thought, you know what, I better just go and get myself checked out because you never know. So I went to the doctors, give me a full examination, give me a clean bill of health, and said your headaches are probably down to stress. I said, well, I don't really feel stressed. I said, I was like 2, 3, 4 years ago in the crash, but you know, we've turned things around, things are good now, I don't feel stressed at all really. And he said, well, stress can manifest itself in all sorts of different sorts of ways for all sorts of different reasons. So I'll prescribe you a tablet on a very low dosage. All it'll do, it'll just calm you down. You can go about your business, carry on doing whatever you normally do. You can drive while you're taking them, it's not an issue. And come back and see me in 2 weeks' time. So I took the tablets for 2 weeks, the headaches were still there. This is 5 weeks now, just got this gnawing bit of a headache. It was like I got a tight band around my head. And went back to see the doctor, and he said, all right, okay, if that hasn't worked, we'll up the dosage. I said, look, I don't think I'm stressed. I think you're treating me for something that's just not there. He said, I'll tell you what I'll do. He said, look, I'll up the dosage, go and get the prescription, and in the meantime, we'll get you back in next week to see the nurse, we'll take some bloods, and I'll get you tested for a range of, you know, whatever, on blood tests. He knew I'd worked in construction, so, you know, working with drains, it's possible there was hepatitis or Weil's disease or something like that. That would show other symptoms, of course, but, you know, he said, just in case, we'll get you checked out. So the following week I went in to see the nurse stroke vampire because she took about 8 or 9 vials of blood out of me and sent them off to different labs to have various tests done. At that point we was now coming up just before Christmas, so on the 4th of January I got an appointment booked in to go back and see the doctor, get the results of my tests. In between Christmas and the New Year I got a call from the surgery asking could I come in to see the doctor? And I said, well, I've got an appointment booked for the 4th of January. He said, well, actually, one of the tests has come back positive. And I'm like, yes, knew it wasn't stress. So we can go in there and find out what the problem is, get it sorted. So I actually went in on New Year's Eve in the morning. I walked in to see the doctor and he said, well, there's 2 things I got to say to you. The first is, the one thing that's come back tested positive has got absolutely nothing to do with your headache. He said, so we've still got to sort that problem out. He said, it just happened that while I got you in there having blood tests, I had to have another test done. And as I'm treating you for stress, I don't quite know how to tell you this, he said, but you've got prostate cancer. At the time I was 55. So I said, okay, now you can treat me for stress. So he said, that's what I was afraid of. He said, really, he said, you know, nobody out there with prostate cancer has headaches. He said, so that is still something we need to sort out. He said, but obviously we've got another priority at the moment. I said, right, okay, fine. So I went into the hospital on the 12th of January and they took biopsies. And then I went back on the 21st of January for the results of those. And I walked in and I saw the head sister there from the oncology department and she said, well, Mr. Burt, she said, you have definitely got a guardian angel. I don't know any man that would go to the doctors because he's got a headache, and I don't know any doctor that would prescribe a PSA blood test for a man with a headache because it's just totally unrelated. So she said, but it's a good job you're here because it's definitely cancer. All 13 samples that we took have tested positive, but as far as we know, it's a low PSA count, so it shouldn't have spread any further. We're going to do further tests now to see what's the best way forward. So I had lots of other tests, several meetings with the consultants, and then the team together decided that the best way forward for me would be to just have it cut out and removed, and hopefully that should be done. That was 4 years ago, and I've been clear ever since. The surgery worked. I didn't need any chemo or radiotherapy afterwards. It's all done and sorted. Just going back to the day after, on the 22nd of June, the day after that I'd been told it was definitely prostate cancer, that all the biopsies had tested positive. I was having breakfast and my wife said, so now you've had a night to think on it all and you actually know what's going on, you know, how are you feeling? And I said, well, first of all, my headache's gone. And from that day to this, I've not had another headache. So my body was clearly saying, go and get yourself checked out. The next thing I said to her is, I said, I don't have cancer. I said, I don't believe that I can have cancer. I just feel so healthy, so well. And from this point forward, I'm just going to totally believe that it's beaten. It's not going to beat me. And to help me in that, 7 days later, I had a small parcel from New Zealand where my daughter lives. And in it was this bracelet and this. And this simply says on it, believe. So that sits in my change tub. And every morning when I put my change in my pocket, I pick this up and remember to believe. I have to believe about all sorts of different things now. But the other thing is, she sent me this, and this simply says Kia Kaea, which Kia Kaea in Maori is stand strong. So for the whole of the time that I was going through that challenge, I believed and I stood strong and I got through it. So how has that changed the way that I think? From that day one I said, whatever happens, I'm not going to let this change my life. I'm not going to allow it to overtake me. I'm not going to allow it to change the way I think. And as soon as I got through it, I changed the way I think. I've changed my life. And I have to say, it's been for the better. It was a very, very negative thing at the time. But it is true what they say, you know, these things that don't kill you make you stronger. And I came out the other side of it with a total new respect for time and for life and basically for just getting out there and doing stuff. So the way it changed the way that I think is up until then I'd read books, motivational books, inspirational books, time management books, procrastination books and all sorts, you know. And I'd taken some of those things on board and worked with them and it had helped me in my business. But all of a sudden now I was just thinking, this has to change. Every second of every minute of every hour of every day has to count. And yes, there's times when I plan to sit in the garden and do nothing or sit in the corner of the pub reading a paper and having a pint, and that's perfectly acceptable. But when I decide to be working, I work on the things that are most important. When I decide to be out there doing stuff, I work on the stuff that's most important. The reason I'm here today is I think this is the best way to spend my time today. And the reason I put my hand up and said I'll do it first is because I want to step out my comfort zone and push myself and see how far I can push myself. So that's how things have changed for me. Miraculously, in that time, my business has gone like this over the years, and in the last 4 years, it's now done this. And I've turnover of business and profit has probably been more than the previous 20 years, just from that change of mindset. But also my personal life, we go out more, we do far more stuff. So one of the things that I thought of when I was thinking, yeah, if they had told me I'd only got 6 months, you know, what's the one thing that I would want to do? Well, one of the things I wanted to do was grow a business where I employed more than just myself and my son and have something that I could manage and not working. So in other words, instead of working in a business, I was managing a business. So that's the first thing I achieved. My daughter had travelled around the world a while and we hadn't seen her for about 2 years. So next 6 months, we took the time out to go to New Zealand and spend 6 weeks over there with my daughter and see where she was settling down. In all my life, I've ridicule people that have bought new cars, because as soon as you drive it off the forecourt, it devalues by £5,000, and I was never going to waste £5,000 doing that. Next 6 months I went out and bought myself a new Mercedes. I absolutely love driving that. I've got to go to Chelmsford next week, 4 hours driving, and where I used to go, oh God, now I've got to go to Chelmsford, it's like, yes, driving to Chelmsford. So my mindset around everything has just completely changed. So what I want to do now is just give you 3 pieces of information and advice, really. The first piece of advice is if you're 50 years old, if you're a man, sorry, and you're 50 years old, go and get yourself a PSA test, go and see your doctor. You're entitled to one every year. While you're there, get a full MOT, checked over. It's funny, every year we spend money sending our car to get an MOT and check that it's healthy, but we never do that for ourselves. I never did that until I had this scare. So go and do that. With cancer, as with all illnesses, invariably the earlier you catch it, it's more likely to be curable. So go and do that. If you're a woman or you're a man under 50, go and find a man that you know. It might be your father, it might be an older brother, uncle, work colleague. Tell them to go and get a PSA test. So that's my bit on prostate cancer awareness. But the second thing is, whatever challenge that you get in life, just remember to believe and be strong. We're all awesome individuals in this room. We're all actually more capable of doing more than we think we can. And if you don't have any challenges in your life, set some. Go and set those goals higher. Go and get outside your comfort zone. Life will get way more exciting. And believe you me, you will overcome those challenges and you will surpass things that you never thought possible. And then finally, at the beginning, I asked you to think of an answer to a question, and the question was, if you're not on this planet in 6 months' time, what is the one thing that you would go and do? The reality is nobody in this room, including myself, can guarantee 100% we'll be here in 6 months' time. So whatever it is you're thinking, put your plans in motion, go and do it now. Leave here today knowing in your heart and believing in your mind that you're going to have a long, happy, prosperous and wealthy life. But trust me, it gets way more exciting if you live for today. Don't worry about tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Smile, be chat, join for networking.